All right, and welcome back, everybody, for our third place match of the day. Sorry for the delays. One of the players was a little bit absent for a bit, but they have been accounted for, and we should be able to get started pretty soon here. I hope you all enjoyed the last match. This one should be equally of a banger. We do have Osborne 2 versus Ainlay 2. Osborne 2 kind of does lean themselves into a fairly similar style from Osborne 1, because I think actually both the Osborne teams and the Ainlay teams were actively scrimming each other previously to the tournament. So, random. Oh, we got a little bit of time. I need biased hot takes, man. Just based on stats, sheerly on stats. No happiness here.
I don't know if we've got a ton of stats left. Out of the 4 teams today, here's a stat. These are the 2 slower teams because Osborne 1 and McNally finished their games in roughly about 23 minutes, whereas Ainlay 2 and Osborne usually look for 30 minutes. I don't know how important that stat is because last game ran well above 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah, no, I think we're going to see a lot of that today. But we do have going here, probably going to be a Cassidon ban coming out. Both the Osborne teams quite enjoy playing the Cassidon. for a lack of a better word, both Osborne teams have actually, when they do play the Cassidon, both teams, Osborne teams have played it very, very well.
Yeah, and to an extent, actually has played in solo queue before, so considering Ainlay's on the blue side, maybe they could have looked to snipe it, but for now, it's a safe takeaway here. And much like Bai, Ungmacher in the top lane for Osborne 2 also plays Darius. Now, I know you said that Osborne 2 might not be quite as mechanically skilled, but I don't know if that trauma is going to be left over from the last game here.
just the PTSD of the Darius just going in your entire team. So, I got a Rammus ban coming out. It looks like we are getting some more jungle pinches. The Urgot ban coming out.
Okay, yeah, at least Urgot, I mean, that's standard right now, I feel like, against Kaizen and Pandas here. So, solid pickups. And I'm curious as to whether Ainlay 2 is going to continue pinching the jungle pool a little bit here, or whether they want to ban something like the Kaisa. Oh, okay.
Oh, Skarner. Captain Flowers is an improvement. Oh, you have angered Lord Cat Flowers above. A shameful day indeed.
I'm just trying to look to see if this is show actually even plays the Skarner jungle. I feel like this might just be a flat out a bit of a
just no, not again, please. No bug man.
I mean, the Hecarim is available, and I feel like Skarner is sort of that counter to Hecarim as well. So the fact that they banned the Skarner maybe signals that they want to pick the Hecarim here for Kaizen. Kaizen has done really well with it, and it is still open right now.
Yeah, both the Kaisa and the Hecarim, which I think have been our top 2 picks in this entire tournament, are open. Oh, is Ainlay pulling out the Darius themselves? Okay. All right, how the tables turn. If you can't beat him, join him. Yeah. Darius is locked in.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean,
but that does leave the Hecarim and the Kaisa open for Osborne too, and I am a bit terrified they're just going to pick those. Zaya picked up 2, the very, very dominant AD carry in this game. And there's the Hecarim coming out. I was feeling it was going to be like one of the top 2 AD carries, Hecarim.
Okay, so what is Kaizen going to pick into the Hecarim here? You banned the Skarner yourself. Your Elise is banned. There's the Rengar potentially that could come through for them. I'm trying to think what else we saw banned against Kaizen here. But you know what? Like I just don't feel like you have a solid answer to the Hecarim. And I really like the Zaya pickup as well, because Zaya is often picked as a counter to Kaisa. Kaisa wants to go in. Zaya wants you to go in, and then Featherstorm, Blade Call, lock you down. You're dead. And because the Zaya is picked up here, it almost feels like it was bait, and Banana took it by picking the Kaisa here. And we'll have to see if Banana can navigate around all those feathers, make sure that they can actually find priority targets.
Yeah, exactly. See if they are like as comfortable in the lane as they think they can be. Because as you said, like, yeah, you go in, and as you've seen, Ainlay really likes to play around their level 2 power spike. Oh, he's here. I don't think we've seen it in his ear yet. I'm excited. But Ainlay 2 does like to play around their level 2 power spikes. And with a lot of the potential for that we usually do see coming out of Ainlay 2.
Yeah,
on the ball lane.
A little bit surprised. I mean, the Tristana was available. I thought the Tristana does better, and that's that huge level 2 spike. But we are looking now at support jungle for Ainlay, and we've seen what happens when you let the jungle sort of slide all the way to the back. Oh, and Bird be the word here.
Coming out. It looks like we got the Bird match in the mid lane. Whoa, boy.
I am not sure exactly. I feel like I haven't seen this matchup recently here since Anivia got reworked. Azir did get a little bit nerfed last patch here. it's on the Sand Soldiers a little bit less damage, but for the most part, the lane dominance is still there, so should still be fairly comfortable into the Anivia. Outranges the Anivia a little bit in terms of poke as well, though when it comes down to sustained damage, both of these champions are considered fairly short to mid-range among the mid-lane mages here.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen quite a bit of Anivia in this tournament, but I think this is like the first major zero, at least we've seen on stream. But Anivia has been picked fairly often on both sides. And actually, we've got a Rel. Actually, we haven't seen Rel at all in this tournament, so I'm actually kind of surprised to see the ban coming out when there's stuff like Leona and Nautilus on the table. Which, though I think Rel is very good into those picks, we just haven't seen anybody really play Rel in this tournament. I mean, I don't think it's ever been banned either. So kind of not a great ban in my opinion when stuff like Leona is available on the table.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure if Tidy Rice is actually a Rel player very much. So I feel like it's almost a protective, preemptive ban, not taking into account players' champion pools, and maybe it's because they want to put more dive in here, and Rel counters dive really, really well.
I'm kind of interested. Maybe they don't try and like pinch Ainlay 2's jungle pool, because their jungler is like pretty good at like. Oh, which one was? Oh, so the misbans. I just saw it. Thank you, producer. So yeah, the misban was Thresh, just to let you all know. So actually 2 support bans coming out. I'm almost kind of surprised they didn't pinch the jungle pool a bit more on the side of Ainlay, because their jungler is actually, I think, a support main in solo queue from a little bit of research we did. So, which is completely fine. We've seen that they've been so dominant in the lease and stuff like that, but it is possible they do have a fairly limited champion pool, because the Talia did look a little bit shaky. So we do see the Zac coming out. So the Zac coming out. That's wait, where are they putting that Zac? Is that a Zac top lane, or is it a Zac support?
I think
or is it a
not
mispick?
Zac support here. So far we haven't gotten word, so I'm going to assume that's a Zac top for now. Into the Darius, I feel like that's, for lack of a better word, questionable.
Questionable, not a really good time. Now, if the Zac does escape the lane, you get a ton of engage and really good team fight precedence, but getting through that laning phase is rough. Actually, Graves picked up for mainly too, a really good scaling pick with actually a decent amount of early game engage. So if they are able to pilot it pretty well, I think it will be effective.
Yeah, okay. And the Nautilus ban, this was what made me a bit curious, that you're banning the Rel, you're banning the Thresh. Okay, the Thresh, maybe I can see that. But Tidy Rice has been extremely highly prioritizing this Nautilus here. So if you're going to ban any support, shouldn't it be the Nautilus that is super, super comfortable? The Morgana to answer, the Black Shield is going to be nice to stop the engage, but you've got to remember with the Nautilus dredge line, while the Black Shield will stop you being pulled towards them, it won't stop them from just engaging onto you as well. And once you pop that shield, you know, you can still follow up with another stun. Nautilus has CC in spades here.
Exactly. So yeah, just an interesting like ban on the Rel there. And then like the Thresh, I was very surprised with, because I think even in like, particularly because these are like a little bit of like lower level games, and obviously people are used to like LCS and stuff like that. So I think picks like Leona and Nautilus tend to be a little bit more dominant just because they are much easier, I think, to pilot than say like the Thresh or even the Rel. So you can just pick those. Leona, you know, you eat somebody, you hit W, you don't die, and it's like super easy to execute. And Nautilus kind of almost works in the same capacity. Yeah. And as we've seen, teams have been very, very good at these champions. Like the Nautilus roams in most games have been extremely dominant. So, and it's just like, yeah, as I said, no Rel. Like especially on stream, we've seen absolutely no Rel, and I don't think it's been banned before this point.
Yeah, and when I'm just looking in terms of what we see locked in here, I feel like Ainlay has a lot of just really strong lanes. Your Kai'Sa Nautilus is really, really solid, and if they get the engage onto Xayah, onto Morgana, there's kill pressure there. The Darius into Zac, if that is a top lane Zac, which I have reason to suspect it might be, that's just, what are you going to do with Zac? If you go in, Darius is going to be ready and waiting. And last I checked, when you throw Jello into a blender, the blender wins that.
The blender wins quite well. But hey, you have to clean the blender up afterwards. It's kind of annoying. So, you know, maybe he blends it up and then the jungler comes in and doesn't have to clean the blender, you know, just throws it out.
No, man. Do you not know how they make IKEA meatballs? It's horse and cranberry jelly, right? Like that's IKEA meatballs. So
is it? I don't know. You think I can afford that, even though it's like dirt cheap, man? I'm too busy eating ramen on my college budget.
Well, yeah, I just don't see this top lane going well. And I feel like every time we've seen a Darius on stream so far, John, the Darius has a really, really good laning phase or takes over the game. And if ever there was a time for Pandas to sort of get their revenge here onto Bai, it's going to be on the Osborne 2 team here, onto Onker with this Darius, potentially. The Graves, I'm curious to see how Kaizen pilots the Graves, because Graves was meta for a very, very long time here, all the way from season 10 until recently. Clears well, ganks well, brings tons of damage, and you've got tanks in front of you. So Kaizen's Talia didn't impress me. I'm looking for his Graves to try and redeem that here.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be a very swingy jungle matchup as well, because whichever one of these junglers does kind of get ahead really opens up the counter jungling effect for both of these teams. Because obviously, you know, Hecarim gets ahead. Like, it's going to get to the point where if, say, the Hecarim ahead or the Graves is ahead, they can just go in the jungle, 1v1 the jungler, and it's just not a good time for either one. And usually in pro play, that is a little bit less seen because there is good ward coverage and stuff like that. But particularly in some of these games, like, ward coverage has actually been surprisingly quite good in this tournament. I've been really impressed. But there is times where, like, yeah, the ward coverage is a little bit lacking and stuff like that. So the jungler can just straight up go in the jungle and just start counter jungling you, invade you and stuff like that. I think we had, I think it was last weekend, we had a Kha'Zix game where the Kha'Zix just went in the jungle, one shot the, I think it was a Karthus, and it was not a good time for the enemy jungler.
That was the perfect game, wasn't it, John?
No, that was the perfect game. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so I mean, the other part of sort of early jungling is your lane pressure. And for Osborne, you've got an Anivia. That's not lane pressure. Azir, however, if we do see that Scorch Meteor Azir, will have priority on the movement. Top side, I am expecting Darius to have priority. Bot side, even with the Kai'Sa, with the Nautilus. Yes, Xayah Morgana has poke, but it's not like a Caitlyn Morgana where you can lock somebody down for days, pump out the damage as well. Xayah just doesn't have that early game. So it just feels like winning lanes across the board right now for Ainlay, at least in the early game, enables Kaizen to gank around. And Graves does not have as hard a skill shot as Talia. There's no seismic shove with that super small, you know, sized circle to try and land it. No, with Graves, you've got a large, you know, big, I don't know how to describe that T-junction, that T-bone. I don't know what that is. That huge T-shape, basically. It's is my point. And it's easy to land, and you get damage in spades here. So I just feel like it's such a strong early game from Ainlay coming out here, and I expect them to just take over. If they don't, then we'll have to reassess come the mid game.
Yeah, because Ainlay has proven that they're very good at playing around like lane pressure and stuff like that. Because even we've seen in the last game, they got their Tristana ahead. They were taking advantage of like just usually the push lane and the bot lane from Tristana. Then they would just roam down with their jungler, take dragons and stuff like that, rotate them around effectively. So if they are able to just win, like keep these lanes pushed up and actually just keep winning them and not maybe have some crucial mistakes that put them behind, you're going to probably be able to see the jungler just prioritize like, yeah, just getting camps and kind of just take over the game. Because Ainlay is very good at playing around the neutral objectives, as we saw in the last game. And they are able to like utilize their jungler to push into these winning lanes and stuff like that. So I think if they do play to their strengths, which they have quite a few in this game, I think it will be a very, very solid game in their favor. But obviously I think we should look at the other side of the table, because like what does Osborne kind of have to bring to the table, and where does like their comp scale up, if you will, or hit its power spike?
For sure. And coming into this, while we were on the break and while we were preparing for this, I was looking at Osborne 2 saying, okay, you know, Osborne won just by having better players and being more patient here, waiting for that mistake from Ainlay that they could completely punish. And I was thinking Osborne 2, maybe you run the same thing. You wait for Ainlay to sort of mess up here and then you punish them. But this composition, this isn't exactly sort of will take over the game composition here. You've got Hecarim who wants to engage. You've got Anivia who doesn't. Anivia wants to sit back and let teams engage into them, set up a battlefield for the team. And against the likes of, you know, a Nautilus, a Darius, and a Azir, or the Kai'Sa, that battlefield is going to be constantly moving here. So it's going to be very difficult for Mapletree to really get in there and set up the way you want. So instead, I'm looking now at the Fames here for the Xayah to try and win these team fights. I think if the Fame stays alive in team fights, Xayah can output more damage more consistently over more targets than a Kai'Sa can. So a lot of weight on the Fame's shoulders. And with the front line, like we kind of touched on here, if Ongmaker can get out of lane alive, great for team fights. If this Isho as well can sort of, you know, on the Hecarim get some early ganks off maybe, or just cause enough chaos, burst down the carries and let the Fames take over a game, I feel like that's likely to be the win condition, though it is a very narrow one.
Okay, kind of giving some the old Halo days of objective survive. In the early game here from Osborne.
Pretty much.
But yeah, we are getting into our third place match here. It is 1-1. Our finals following this will be 1-2. So hopefully you guys get to see some absolute bangers of matches. But This one will be a good way to start. It's looking like Ainlay 2 coming up here with a fairly early game dominant comp, and if they do play to their strengths, it will be difficult for Osborne 2 to come up, but we have seen Ainlay falter when they are extremely ahead in the game, so they're going to need to maybe see if they can close it out this time, because I think that has been kind of a prevailing weakness on actually both of the Ainlay teams. They played very good in the early game, they take all the objectives and stuff like that, and I think where they have lacked is being able to just like take the finishing blow, particularly against some of the more mechanically gifted teams that have been in the tournament.
Yeah, and again, if you draft such a strong early game comp into a comp that doesn't do that well into the early game, there's a very good chance you just win lane so hard that you can close out even, and we have to keep in mind, Osborne won, even though they were down in the early game, the gap never really exceeded about 2,000, and 2,000 at 20 minutes is not that significant. It's certainly not insurmountable. So I feel like for this game, the goal would be something closer to like, say, 5K, 6K at 20 minutes, which would take a bit more work, I feel like, from the Ainlay 2 team.
Exactly. So we're getting started here. Oh, are we going to see the spicy invade? Is it time? No, just some early warding to maybe spot up the jungler, because I think there will be a lot of bottom priority here, because you did highlight that it's likely that Kaisa and the Nautilus will be pushing in. So it's like, yeah, they're going to want to come here and fight over the bottom scuttle. I kind of joked about this yesterday. I just kept repetitively saying, there's probably a fight over this this bottom scuttle here, but a lot of the time it has been very important in this tournament, because there's just been a lot of focus on, I think, the 4 core, where like these are the top laners kind of up, you know, battling each other, occasionally TPing into fights and stuff like that. Well, most of like the jungler, the mid, and then the bot lanes have been focusing around taking objectives, fighting each other, getting ganks and stuff like that. So a lot of teams, I think, particularly the Ainlay teams, and actually Lazert did a good example of it as well yesterday, of just demonstrating if you can play around that 4 core, you have a lot of lane, you have a lot of roaming pressure, you can take the neutral objectives, and there's actually a lot you can utilize for it. And then if you need that little extra punch, you pull your top laner down, it's a good time. But you know, you can't really pull down your top laner when your Zack's running Ignite and your Darius is running Ghost.
Yeah, so no TPs here. I like the Ignite actually pick up from Omaker.
Oh, are we going for the early cheese? Serpandus is coming back with a vengeance. He's like, all right, you played Darius against me enough. It's my turn to play this champ.
Yeah, and that's something you can do as a Darius. What is a Zack going to do? Just blob at you for a little bit? There's just not enough damage. The bleed is so strong as well. So I really like the early Serpandus. And look what Kaizen's doing as well. Buff to buff, nearing the top side here. So we can expect to see some early cheese topside. If they do pop the passive, Omaker is almost guaranteed to go down against a Darius Graves combination.
Oh, we got some early game fighting on the bottom lane. Tiny Rice barely staying alive with the heal there. The turret shot coming down. They are looking to continue the trade, and it is Ainlay barely coming, actually coming up behind in that, just simply from health totals. But they do get the early level. Oh my goodness, straight from downtown. And they're just slowly chunking out the Morgana, and this is a. Actually, no, you know what? They've healed off the potions and are now solidly in control of that early counter jungling, and they're bringing down the top laner to secure this red buff. Are they going to gift it over, or is no. I want 2 red buffs.
Okay, yeah, it's just denial.
Are we going for a fight? I do think the Graves wins this a little bit early if they do execute this properly, but the Hecarim is going in, gets the knockup, but they pulled over the Anivia here, and the crucial stun comes down, and the mid laner on the side of Ainlay was a little bit late to the fight, and that is first blood going over onto the Anivia.
The theory was there, right? You're supposed to have winning pushing lanes across the board here, so you're supposed to be able to invade. That much was kind of true topside, but in the mid lane, Keto was actually shoved in here, did not burn the mana, did not shove the wave, and because of that, Maple now, buff transfer complete. Oh
no! Fully engaged. It's the classic thing of this tournament. We're looking at something else. Top dies, and that's the kill coming up from Zack. The Ignite probably coming up pretty big in that fight to deny some healing onto the Darius.
Okay, I thought that was Darius. Like I was like, oh, that's expected. I didn't realize till after that. Wait, that was the Zack killing the Darius. That is not expected. That is a huge win right now for Osborne too. That they managed to get that, and it feels like, for Ainlay, you've got this composition that wants to get ahead early, that should be getting ahead early. So the fact that you're not, and even though no one's died on the bot side of the map, Banana and Tiny Rice kind of botched the dive as well, or not the dive.
So much damage.
This is a huge problem for Ainlay here.
Yeah, exactly. As you can notice too, because of that early jungle mistake too, the Hecarim has secured both scuttles, is up a level advantage, has a pretty big CS advantage over the Graves, and you might actually see a lot of counter jungling coming out from the Hecarim now. But I think reflecting on that top fight, I think Serpandus took a fight in an entire minion wave. You don't underestimate those little mans. You should know.
Like I told you, I'll take your. I'm the one who wants under like, when you make that sort of mistake, and it had to be. There's no other way. I think Zach has quite enough damage to just outduel a Darius here. So despite the early death for Serpandus, I actually don't think it changes the situation in this top lane. Serpandus should still continue to dominate, should continue to win, as long as we don't see jungle pressure, jungle ganks come through here. And for this Isho, I don't think they can look to gank necessarily right now. The minion wave is pushing back, and it's a huge one. If you sit in the middle of that, we might just see the reverse. We already saw Darius go down to minions. Ekrim would go down even faster.
Exactly, there's a little poking up here, but the Hecarim is topside while the Graves is down. Oh, they're taking the dragon on spawn, kind of a sneaky take in here, avoiding the scuttle vision. So as long as they're none the wiser, this should actually be a pretty good dragon take early on from Ainlay too.
And I love the way they snuck in as well, because there is scuttle in front. They don't just sort of reveal it. And as I say that, Tiny Russ and Kidder are going in, so they'll know it's gone now. But I guess it's too late. There's nothing topside for this Isho to actually take either. So Ainlay finally finding an answer back to sort of the loss of pressure they've had early game.
And actually the Hecarim just trading some counter jungle here to get a little bit of the money back. But actually I think the reason they pulled up the land there is it kind of was looking like the Graves might have died there and had to use the smite early. So actually Zach trading pretty favorably right now.
Yeah, but again, right, like Darius right now, yes, that trade was favorable. But Zach is a level up. That was in the minion wave, and that is not an extended fight. We have to remember Darius has Conqueror as well. So as the fight goes on, Darius will do more and more. Now that Darius is 6, the kill pressure is significantly higher. So far, no jungle pressure at all in the top lane. I don't like that, and I feel like send your junglers top. There is potential for kills before this. Now it's so much riskier for this Isho.
And he is fighting in the minion wave again, so you might see the down coming down. And Zach does have Ignite here, so he can take away some of the healing. There's a dunk coming down early, but the Zach, there's a lot of healing coming down on the Zach, and the Zach takes the kill and is not going to die to bleed because of the healing. And I think he's running Triumph. Oh my goodness, you don't fight in the minion waves, and if that's not a class example of it, I don't know what is.
And unfortunately, I just think Serpandus pulled the trigger a little bit early on that Noxian guillotine there. You want to kind of hold off a little bit on it. And Omaka right now on this Zach pick, it shouldn't be winning, but it is. And that is so good for them. Now with the Bami Cinder as well, Serpandus trying to answer the Executioner's Blade will stop set up the sustain a little bit, but I don't think that's the issue at this point. Now with Bami Cinder, Unmaker's trading is just going to be that much better. Going to be that much rougher for Serpandus. And if before I wanted to see the jungler, now Serpandus needs Kaizen to visit top lane at least once.
Yeah, to kind of get them back in the game, because if they do manage to get the Zach significantly ahead of the Darius, they have so much precedence top lane. Obviously, Zach having the advantage of being able to slingshot across half the map, it's going to allow the jungler to just pretty much dominate topside, because if you're, say, like counter jungling, the Hecarim's counter jungling up there, you can almost always pull your Zach to you just because of how much engage range he has and how quickly he can get to you. Well, obviously, the Darius is going to lag behind and take forever to get there, so they really do need to maybe shore up this disadvantage or get one of the other lanes so insanely fed it doesn't matter. But I think maybe getting the Darius back in the game is important because it is such a swingy matchup that if you do get the Darius a couple kills, you can probably swing this back at this point.
Yeah, and we've seen what happens even if a Darius doesn't exactly win the lane. If anything, Bai showed us last game. So I'm sure that for the side of Osborne too, they're very, very aware of what happens if a Darius starts to come back into the game. After all, they scrim against Osborne 1 all the time. But I want to look at the other lanes a little bit because mid lane, Maple Tree is down CS somewhat as expected. Bot side as well, the Fames is getting shut back a little bit. So it does feel like if we take out the kills right now, Ainlay is not doing too bad.
Coming down to Morgana. They got the engage. The Nautilus is coming down on the Xayah. They finish off the Morgana and try to look for a little bit more on to the Xayah, but opts to not go out of it. Turret damage a little too high at this point, and that is a good kill on to the Morgana.
Okay, and before I said they were not doing too badly, now they are doing well with that win here. We've seen what happens when a Kai'Sa starts to get a hit, becomes a huge threat, a huge danger, but Osborne instantly reacting as well. This Isho knowing
we got
that...
the turret dive coming down on the Xayah. The Ignite is burning away, and Nautilus is tanky at this point in the game, and they managed to finish off the turret dive, and that's actually probably going to lead into a healthy counter jungle, because they are very aware that the Hecarim is top.
There's nothing to jungle, though. there's a wolf
No,
cap.
the cap just spawned. The Gromps and the wolves just spawned.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I'm super smart. Look at me.
You're keeping better watch of the times than I am. I'm just watching the nice big objectives here. Herald goes down to the side of Osborne. They fed the second death at the bot side was, I think, a freebie kind of, just not respecting the damage. Flash and heal burn. They can just look to regan the bot lane, and I honestly think that they might actually have enough damage to just burst them under turret as well. The moment of binding comes out, the moment of black shields, good enough signal that they can just revisit that bot side.
Yeah, and so the counter map, the cross map play did allow them to get this Rift Herald, which is going to get even more gold into this top lane. Yep. And it's just becoming more and more dire straits for the Darius up here, down 2 levels to the Zac. And as I said, like, top lane really becomes very, very scary. He just has to stand there. You don't want to deal with a fight these.
Front row seats here, and there's no backup, right? Like, the Herald taking so many plates was already brutal, but this is not only plates, this is first turret right now for Ongmaker and this Isho, and that's a scary roaming duo to see unlocked here. The slingshots literally coming out of nowhere, onslaught of shadows, ghost charge Hecarim. They can run you down from a screen away, and if I was the rest of Ainlay right now, I'd be very, very scared. Keto is not safe. Banana is not safe whatsoever, even under their own turrets.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even though they don't have the TP on the Zac, I think the Ignite was actually pretty crucial to just winning some of those fights where unfortunately Serpandus kind of overestimated himself, but they don't get the global map pressure, but which is how quickly Zac can get around the map. But actually, as I'm trying to talk about things, we got a fight going down into the bottom lane. The Hecarim gets locked up by the Nautilus, but they are slowly melting through. The Kaisa is just so strong at this point. Good Graves ult to finish it off. The Nivea is getting ult, but the Black Shield is going to deny the CC a good wall to keep the Graves in there. They are maybe looking for a little bit more hook going down on Morgana. There is no Black Shield to deal with this, but the rest of Ainlay too does not want to go in. They're just kind of slowly poking down, but the root goes down onto Nautilus. They're going to get a little bit more chain CC, and you can see that the Zac is coming down, and that opens up the ability to turret dive if they wish, but they're likely just going to transition it into the Dragon here.
This is actually not as one-sided as might look right now.
Oh no! Overcommits a little bit. The egg is going to let them stay alive in the Azir, and the Nautilus are getting knocked up. The Knight is ticking down onto the Azir. Now they do safely get into the turret. Here comes the big flank from Serpandus and gets locked up. No! It is not quite tanky at this point. Banana, good engage on to the Morgana. It does manage to get something out of it, but the health bars on the side of Osborne 2 are a little bit more healthy at the moment. They are going to need maybe try to deny the Dragon, but the Nivea overcommits and is going to get completely melted by all of the members of Ainlay 2. They're going to go towards this Dragon and just completely ruin Osborne 2's chances. Now, I don't know if they're piped again. I really hope Osborne 2 doesn't go back in here. They're going to look for the Smite Steal, though. Take the 50-50. And no, they didn't even go for it. I think a wise decision would have probably just died. And that is a beautiful re-engage by Ainlay 2, punishing the overcommitment and being out of place that the Nivea did commit.
Yeah, and the kills Osborne 2 got early were great. The problem is what they traded for. They traded health, they traded revives, and you just kind of need to back off at that point. We said this before, the Anivia doesn't want to keep having to reset the battlefield over and over and over again. You want to just sit back, and you had control over the Dragon, but because it went on so long, Serpandus was able to get there. He walked all the way from the top lane. That was a ridiculously long trek. Gets down there. You can see how long it takes for the camera zoomed out to pan across. Serpandus had to do that on foot here, did not have the benefit of camera wings, and by the time they get there, they just lose control over the Dragon. They didn't have vision in the pit either, so this Isho, if they wanted to try and steal that, it would have been
River Shuffle, there it is! Down on Nivea now. Nivea doesn't have passive, so this is going to be a free kill picked up into the mid lane. But speaking of fights, there's one going up on top. They're looking to trade this kill, and that will be the Darius going down. That was definitely a good cross-map play on the side of Osborne to trade out on that play.
I'm actually not sure who started which fight first, because the Anivia is really, really squishy. So I almost get the feeling that they started trying to kill Serpandus earlier, and it just took longer. But they're investing so much into this top lane to keep the Darius down. We have to remember, it's not Darius who's the carry. That's just a recency bias from Bai here. It's going to be the Azir. It's going to be the Kaisa. And right now, they have been completely unpunished.
Yeah, you might see the Darius transition into more of kind of a tankier build. Probably not raw tank, but more kind of like a heal tank and just sustain in the fight, because really all the Darius needs to do is just distract the enemy team, so his Kaisa and his Azir can just do as much damage as humanly possible. And even Graves later in the game is going to be a truck. Looking for the Zac gank here. They don't have vision on them. On the lane is pushing in. This could result in some scary stuff. Yeah, Kaizen is there, kind of zoning it up. Well, but we do have the Hecarim available. Hecarim is spotted by the Scryer's Bloom.
They don't know.
Oh, they don't know. Oh, this is so terrifying. They're wasting so much time, though. Please notice that the Serpentis is getting free farm up in the top lane. And we got the engage coming down onto the Nautilus. They are going to actually be able to go in this. Oh, because of his pathing is going to get hit up by them. But the black shield is huge to deny the Nautilus. Huge engage on to the Xayah. And Hecarim comes from downtown to confirm that kill. And I think the retreat path on the side of Ainlay there was not the best option.
Yeah, I honestly, they didn't have a retreat path that deep. Kaizen now, Nyx on the chopping block.
Oh, no. Here comes the wall. Big wall coming down. Forces out to the flash on the side of Kaizen. And a beautiful rotate down from the Anivia to confirm more summoner spells. And that's going to be a turret going in the favor of Osborne too.
Osborne must be hearing our concerns here. I was concerned that they were investing so heavily into shutting down Serpentis. I'm glad to see them finally rotated elsewhere. Yes, that gank took forever. About a minute of Ongmacher just sitting there trying to make sure they had it. But the patience from Osborne paying off once again here. Osborne 1, pardon me. Their patience nets them the game. This time for Osborne 2, it nets them a kill on the bot side, a turret as well. A nice lead because Kaizen had to burn collateral damage to get out. So that's one big ultimate that's not up if he gets caught out here.
Oh, they're getting caught up. The Anivia can rotate up. Both mid laners are roughly the same range, but the engage range coming down from the Hecarim. I think it's going to come down to will the mid laners roam up early? He does not get Kaizen now. All the wall is a little bit misplaced, but I think he's going to get the kill on the backside. Serpentis getting a little bit of revenge. He gets the kill down there, but it is Kaizen falling down in the mid lane. And it's just a 1-for-1 trade, though it does... Oh, no, I thought Serpentis got the kill, but no gold for him today.
No, but still, an assist is an assist here, and you know, when you're behind, trading 1-for-1 is worth it. It's not a significant deficit. We are still within that 2K sort of margin here, but remember what we said, John. We want to see Ainlay being the one up more than 2K, closer to 5K here. They're not. They're down. They're up dragons though, so they can look to pick that up. And I do believe we have ourselves a mountain soul this game here, so a bit of tankiness for the team will be nice if they can get their hands on it.
Yeah, definitely when you have hyper carries in the form of the Azir and the Kai'Sa, just being able to negate some of the initial engage from the form of like Zac, Hecarim dive, and even into the Xayah ult, I think just so impactful. So unlike the Cloud Drake we saw last game, which was unfortunately kind of just like a little like, you know, a little icing on top, little benefit. This one I think will actually be very, very strong into their comp, and I think they should put a lot of priority towards confirming it, because Ainlay has shown they're very good at rotating and playing around the dragon, and that is one of their strengths, and I think it will reward them greatly in this match.
Okay, and I'm just watching right now as Serpentis is once more taking the great trek from the top lane here.
He's on a journey.
He'll get there in time though, so that's important. Maple Tree does have the teleport, so less worrying.
Yeah, but we got a little bit of a pick onto the Hecarim early, but pulls back Kaizen, and the black shield just comes up huge there to avoid the Xayah from getting hit off. And then Zac goes right in the middle of the entire team. I'm pretty sure they do it passive though, so it shouldn't be too bad. And the Hecarim is going down onto the back line, but they have this pincer set up by Ainlay, but they need to play as well and not get rotated on either side. And just, Osborne is not where you want to be at the wall, dividing up the carries, but Graves on the outside just kill it, shooting down. Oh, they engage the Shurima shuffle from downtown. The Azir comes up huge. The Xayah is in the back line, but that is a huge play.
Killer instinct, let's go!
Kai'Sa's going in and gonna probably finish off this triple kill, and just beautiful engages, just being patient, and Ainlay 2 comes up massive in that fight.
That was a very, very chaotic fight, but Ongmacher this time pulled the trigger a little bit early. Yes, you're tanky. Yes, you survived the blender, but diving into 5 members there on your own, the rest of the team could not make it. And we got blended jelly, we got horse meat, and we got scrambled eggs. We got ourselves the full IKEA breakfast.
We got the full IKEA breakfast. Exclusive, you don't even have to pay for it. What university student doesn't like that?
I thought these are high school students.
Yeah,
right?
these are high school students, but I'm prepping them for the suffering that they're going to be involved in later. You know, as a fourth-year physics major, I gotta stick up for my, my younger students and warn them about the days that will come. But I think actually it was interesting to watch in that fight of just seeing Ainlay. They had this pincer kind of set up, but if they overcommitted on either side, they were just going to get collapsed on and die. But they actually were so patient. Mostly the Graves and the Kai'Sa on the bottom side, just not going into early and not getting picked out. And they actually even played around the wall very, very well. Waited for their engage, and then they all went at the same time. It just came up huge when that Shurima shuffle went down. That was very, very patient play from Ainlay, in a well-executed team fight.
And now it looks like the fight, the last bloodshed, the last bloodbath we just saw wasn't enough. The teams are setting up immediately for a Herald here. 19 minutes. I'm not sure they can actually take it in time before Baron spawns.
Yeah, I think maybe the teams are thinking about that, not opting for it, instead just going for vision control in the river here, but they do have the bot lane pushing up, so maybe if they do take a fight here, the 80 carry on the side of Osborne 2 will not be able to get there in time. I think they're just going for a mid pressure here instead, because yeah, as you noted, there's probably not enough time to kill that Rift Herald.
So the other problem too is if you're trying to push right now, I don't think you want to take any lane where Maple Tree's in. And Nivea is known as the queen of wave clear. She just puts down the Glacial Storm and kind of just walks away. And you saw mid lane right now. They can't really push in unless they can find the catch onto Maple Tree. Tidy Rice does have the flash. They could potentially look for the flash into the depth charge to force them off, but that would be a lot expended just for one turret here. I think you look at the other lanes, the side lanes, because so far Ainlay, not a single turret to their name. In fact, the top and mid lane turrets are fairly healthy. It's just that bot lane turret where they could potentially try and take that down.
Yeah, Osborne hasn't, Ainlay hasn't taken a lot of turrets and stuff like that. Now, they are very, very fed on their individual carries. Like, there's a lot of key items and stuff coming out. But you see the gold lead is actually, like, fairly close in consideration, even based on the KDs, because Osborne's been taking the turrets and getting a lot of gold. But it looks like we might have a fight coming into the mid lane here as they're shoving up the lane. They got their Zac there, but they all are standing on a ward. And I don't think the bot lane's going to walk up with the scary Zac, man.
No. And the other problem, too, for Osborne is that so far, when we've seen Unmaker and this Isho sort of have good success here, it's been mainly when Kedo's not present. That Emperor's Divide has been just a huge stop sign in the face of Osborne's engage. If you go in, sure, you black shield one target, you're not helping that target when you black shield them, because now they're going to be stuck behind the wall with 5 members. We've already seen Unmaker get shredded, and Unmaker's the tankiest member right now of Osborne 2. Anybody else gets stuck behind that Emperor's Divide, and they'll be dead in about 3 seconds flat. Yeah,
exactly. Having just a Kaisa on just such a crucial item spike, and the Azir too, like, yeah, sure, the side of Osborne has like big tanks in the form of the Hecarim and the Zac, but I mean, you just instantly melt when you have two of the highest damage carries in this game. Like Azir, I think, that tops the AP damage charts, and then Kaisa is just like a super top tier pick right now in the 80 carry role for a reason.
So oddly enough for Osborne, despite the sort of engage tools they have and the fact that they have so many good team fighting tools, they might actually be better off at this point just looking for picks, sending Schumacher to go fishing with those dark bindings here, and then following up with the stuns. Have they found Kedo?
They do have a rotate on here. Nice wall coming out. Oh, the Everfrost locks him down. The big Emperor's Divide coming through, but they still have the Hecarim ult to engage in that. And they might be able to get a trade on the kill here, but big flash coming out from the Anivia there to ensure that that trade doesn't go poorly. Really, really good patience almost, because they forced the Azir back to avoid the initial escape. Really, really good engage there. And we got more fighting in the top lane, but Shoemaker is so far ahead. Even the Darius can't come down. It's like, oh, actually might be able to turn it, but not quite. This too tanky, and I think he's I can't see the levels because of the death timer on the Darius, but I'm pretty sure he's still ahead in XP there.
Yeah, Panda's right now still not at a point where they can 1v1 Ongmaker. And I think if they're both at 100 health and they do that, maybe Pandas comes ahead. But Pandas was not full health when they started that. Well, I say starting that, but it wasn't Pandas' choice. Ongmaker just started jumping on him.
Just waiting on it.
Yeah, it's like, you don't get to choose. The Jellyman is the choice here. And if not for that, honestly, I think it goes Ainlay's favor in terms of the trade. They trade Kedo for mid lane turret. And right now, kill for turret is worth it. Not only that, kill for turret against an Anivia team, even more worth it, because it's so hard to take. But all that pressure, all that sort of the death on their side has now caused them to lose Dragon priority, and they will not be securing Mountain Stone.
You know, I definitely don't think they can get in here. They can't afford to give it up because of the death timers, but because they're simply they lost the oh no, I think he overstayed, and it's going to be an engage. Like wall lockdown coming down, but actually the wall is kind of being a little bit counterproductive, making a choke for Ainlay, but just no fight there, and almost gets the grave caught out, but luckily they managed to escape with their lives.
This is when all those question mark pings started coming down. It's like, what was that wall? Okay, as an Anivia main myself, like, I know what Maple Tree was going for. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out. Kaizen gets out free, but they don't lose anything for it. So you know what? You got the Mountain Drake. That's still good. You can continue stacking that. 4 Mountain Drakes is still...
Oh, he's forcing another 1v1 into Sir Pandas. Yeah, I don't think he's going to take it quite this time. And wisely retreating.
we can see the levels now, John.
Yeah,
Pandas is down.
he's got two levels up. You don't. I don't think you want to take that fight, because I'm kind of curious to see how Serpandus is going to build now. I think the Stride Breaker is like pretty crucial to Darius because it just gives you actually just a bunch of utility that you don't usually have, and obviously burst damage. But I almost want to see him go into like kind of a bruiser, like tankier, just sustain build, because I think it's going to be crucial because the side of Ainlay doesn't really have like a true tank. Like the Nautilus is fairly tanky, but a support tank, so nothing compared to like a Zac. So they almost need, and they have Graves, who is kind of a pseudo tank because of how much armor you can stack up. I think if they go into like more of that like kind of traditional Juggernaut quote unquote build on the Darius, it's going to allow him to just buy time for his two like hyper carries, just output damage. But we might see a pick coming down here. Oh, they are getting engaged onto Kaizen, but nobody nearby and no minion to slap that onto, and Kaizen gets out.
Okay, so first of all, let's address Kaizen, because Kaizen should just call himself Houdini. He's gotten out multiple times from when he should have been caught, should have been picked. 2, 3, and 7 doesn't sound amazing, but if you actually watched how often Kaizen got engaged on, the fact that he's only died 3 times is pretty shocking. And to your point about Pandas' build, I fully agree. Right now, Pandas doesn't want to build for split push anymore. That's not going to happen anytime soon. And by the time it does happen, honestly, Serpandus will eventually hit the point where he will be able to push against Unmaker, but that's a ways away. So build for the team, because that's where Ainlay has managed to find a lot of their success. It has been these team fights where Serpandus can get in there, where you can really sort of find the targets here, the Anivia, the Xayah, all these bird-like feather champions, taking them out. That's your goal here. So build towards that rather than the ones you have.
Sudar binding coming down. The Hecarim is there to engage onto the Nautilus. Looks like might be getting a pick here, but Akato is there to zone them off. An exhaust being burnt on the side of Osborne there, but Nautilus gets out.
Yep, exhaust blown as well by True Mocker onto Tidy Rice. They were really looking for the kill. That won't be up for the next fight. Whereas for the side of Ainlay, they burnt absolutely nothing. So they're in a slightly heads-up position as we start seeing this Baron dance really start to kick off here.
Yeah, and the exhaust is just so potent both into the Azir and the Kaisa and even the Graves to an extent, because obviously it also reduces attack speed if I remember correctly, so that just completely denies a lot of the damage output both these champions. The Kaisa is a little bit more about doing the burst and everything like that, but the Azir is just so dependent on just being able to layer in those auto attacks through his Sand Soldier. So if you can get the exhaust down on him, it is very crucial. So being down that summoner spell, while it's usually like kind of a bad thing, I think against Ainlay's particular comp, it is just so powerful.
Fames is showing bot side right now. When Baron's on the table, no TP either. This is a really risky call from Osborne to do this, because Ainlay could just look for an engage. And this Isha, look how aggressively they are positioned as well. If Tidy Rice had decided, enough of this and just turned, that could have been bad. And Osborne too would not have been able to tell, because it's completely blue around the Baron pit right now. It's completely in the dark for them.
Exactly, and they have a little bit of lane prio from Ainlay too, just keeping the lanes pushing in their favor. And actually, the next dragon is spawning in a minute here, so I think we will see some priority between Ainlay to just like maybe get some vision down here. But Osborne looks pretty dedicated either to going for that Baron, or they just simply want to clear out the vision here and completely remove that option from the table for Ainlay right now.
Personally, I feel like for Ainlay, they can actually give up the Baron for the soul here. For the side of Osborne, their push has not really been the issue. They've after those sort of early turrets they've taken, they've not really been able to capitalize on that, and Baron might not change that. For the side of Ainlay, they can just look for the engage anyways if you are wearing Baron buff. Yes, you get a bit more AD, yes, you get a little bit more AP, but that really hasn't been the story of these two fights.
Yeah, and I think Mountain Soul, as we alluded to earlier, is just, I think, so important. But even like going back on my point, it's just like, yeah, they have kind of like, they have a support tank and a pseudo tank in the Graves, and then Darius is hopefully going to that Juggernaut build. The Mountain Soul is just going to be able to give them that shield to almost negate that advantage even more, because that I think one of the bigger weaknesses of Ainlay too is they just don't have that traditional just like big tanky boy like say the Zac that Osborne has there, when both these teams are kind of playing more of a team fight based comp. But look, we have the fight going down the dragon. Hecarim is looking to get in and get that steal. And no, it's confirmed on the side of Ainlay. Like a fight, they're locking down. The Nautilus is burning up, but the Zac is out of the fight. Oh, and the Emperor's Divide sends it back over the wall, and the Darius is right in the middle of the team, buying time for his hyper carries. But unfortunately, all of them have been sent over the wall, and it is an even trade on the kills. But Ainlay coming out with the Mountain Soul, and I think it's a crucial takeaway from that fight.
And frankly, Bonato's just absolutely shredding everyone in the middle of the fight there. I don't think they needed to dash over the wall quite that early there. Probably could have stayed and done more damage, but you know what? As you said, Soul is important. 2-for-2 trade with Soul, that's a win. And now the next fight is going to be that much tougher for Osborne here. and especially around the Baron pit, if they don't manage to set up perfectly, if they don't get the entirety of Ainlay to sort of sit in that glacial storm, it's going to be so difficult for them to win off of the Fames and this Isho's damage here.
Yeah, I think also the Kai'Sa hitting 3 items here is, I think, an important thing to note, because just the damage potential at this point for the Kai'Sa is just absolutely insane.
Yeah, on multiple members as well, with that Runan's Hurricane completing out. And Kai'Sa is short range. Technically, you can punish her if you can just target her. But that's the problem with Anivia. Anivia is not the best mage to try and take down a mobile, squishy target. So that now falls onto this Isho, onto the Fames. And if this Isho is hunting Banana, they're not engaging into the rest of the team. And then Kedo now gets the free fire here. Still no Nashor's Tooth. Did go for the AP damage instead of the sustained damage here. But you know what? It's worked so far.
Yeah, I think it's I think they might get the pick down on Tiny Rice here, but Serpandus is coming up to try and save his support, but the rest of Osborne is coming down here. They may just have to trade this. Oh, and of course he's flat. But this actually Serpandus is trading quite favorably, and the dunk comes down. He's looking for the double kill. He's going to get it down, and oh my gosh, Serpandus comes back with the redemption. Look at the heals coming down, and Kaizen has come and joined the fight. They get the kill down onto the Darius, and the Zaya is melting down. They finally kill the Graves. But it's just the engaged fight is coming down, and just so much damage. But here comes the Azir coming in. A beautiful use of the dash here, and they're going to trade into that. And the Zac and the Zaya are going to get out. Oh, they might actually be able to rotate on the Zac, but oh, here it is.
That's how passive.
This is going to be the kill there. Does he have passive? He does, but honestly, I think they can kill this under tower. It's going to zoom up there, and there's the burn damage. Burn divide into the wall, and has the burn flash. All right, I'm not going to lie. That was some top quality silver scrapes, but Ainlay 2 coming back with lots of kills, and I think the gold advantage from that. Oh man, that was beautiful.
You know what? I'm going to chalk MVP up to Mountain Soul right there. The fact that Tidy Rice and Serpandus survived as long as they did. I want to note that Serpandus is not running Gore Drinker. This is Stride Breaker. So that huge chunk of health you saw there was literally just off the Q, the Decimate. That it had nothing to do with any items. Serpandus can just be that tanky. And when you increase resistances here, it's not additive. It's multiplicative in terms of your health. So being able to heal up that much feels so good. And Serpandus is starting to look like they're back in the game. Do I think that they can handle Ullmacher 1v1? No, but at least in team fights, Serpandus is now a force to be reckoned with if he can get into the backline.
I think also with the picking up the Black Cleaver here too, which is actually kind of like going a bit into that more Juggernaut build, but crucially it gives a lot of like armor cleave and just around him. So though he was like in the fight and just kind of getting beat down, he was cleaving the armor of literally everyone around him. So that allowed the Graves to come in and just do so much damage, and the follow-up damage from the other champions coming in later to kind of clean up the fight. But I think crucially that cleave and just the amount of time that Serpandus bought allowed the Graves to get a lot off that fight. Now, but then the tail end fight was really messy, but that initial fight where he bought a lot of time and then the Graves came in, I think was very well executed.
And messy is good for Kai'Sa right now. Kai'Sa is not just an ADC, she's also an assassin. This Isho is sitting on top of Ward, doesn't know just yet here. And I love the fact that Tidy Rice didn't try and throw out the hook there.
Oh, now it gets out of that.
Kai'Sa, I don't even know why I even bothered. Like, Kai'Sa was gonna get out.
Yeah, he's too good. Actually, the note on Kaizen too, on the Elise, like his repels are so good. Like, there was a ton of situations where it'd be like, oh yeah, the Elise is gonna die. No, repel came out, team came in to help him out, or they would just do some slick escape. They are very good, as you said. I think it's a great way to describe them, because on multiple champs, they have proven that they are just very capable.
I'm just so sad we didn't see the Graves last game, and it was the Tilia, which really didn't work out, because I feel like if it had been the Graves, maybe they could have closed the game out. But speaking of last game, and speaking of closing out, Ainlay still not closing out the game at this point with the Mountain Soul. And this is roughly, well, actually, it was about 10 minutes ago that Ainlay started to throw against Osborne 1, but Osborne 2, they do play a slower game here, 30-minute average for both of these teams. And I'm getting worried for Ainlay that if they don't start looking to try and close the game out, if they are still sat around waiting to try and do these big Elders, these big Barons, and they don't play the macro game, they're kind of coin flipping a little bit on big team fights.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So they are looking to kind of set up for this Elder here. A fight is going to go down. I think Baron buff is also going to be really big for Ainlay, just simply because how many turrets are left on the side of Osborne. But so I think they might want to take this fight, rotate up to Baron, and then they'll be in a very strong position. But there's this kind of a scary fight coming here. Serpandus does have that crucial flank, and I don't think they've spotted him out. Looking like maybe he wants to go regroup with the team. Nope, kind of sitting in the wings, waiting for the engage.
he just needs to group.
They just need to group. They're spacing for this.
Yeah, that's
fall down to.
Exactly what you want to do. If you group up against, the Zac, the Morgana, the Anivia, that is a problem. So I really like Serpandus on the flank with Ghost available, with Stride Breaker. He can just run into the back line. They do have to be careful though. The minion waves are pushing against them for Ainlay, so they might not want to just sit waiting here forever. Oh, Panda's going to go clear the mid lane.
Yeah, Serpandus came back around and then he's clearing that out. And they are getting the blue buff on them, so there is enough time to kind of get the lanes pushing either way. Like, crucially, Osborne is getting bot lane pushing. So each team has about just as much to lose here.
Maple Tree should not be the one standing in front of everybody here.
Yeah, it's a little scary.
Yeah, a hook would be really, really bad. I mean, it is kind of tanky. Does have the passive up. Ongmaker's passive, more importantly, not up and available.
We're a little dance. Here comes the wall down. Spin them, but no engage onto it. Just kind of stares and it's like, yeah, that's a nice Nautilus. Thanks.
Don't start it. Ainlay started it.
But they're kind of crucial. I think they're clumped up too. So if they do just stand like this, the Zac is gonna have a heyday. Oh, I think we're about to see the prophecy come through, and here comes the engage coming down from Osborne too. But they are melting through, and they do so much damage on the Kai'Sa. And the Kai'Sa on the back of this fight, just cleaning it up. And the reset's going down. The Xayah is outputting so much damage. The ult put down, but Serpandus just pulling them back in, and Serpandus just so dominant on that front line. No, get out of here. Shurima shuffle to secure the dragon. And that is a beautiful team fight by Ainlay 2. Kai'Sa just ripping into the enemy team.
I was clenched the entire time there, John, because that's how Ainlay threw last game. But this time, they make work. Really solid, just front to back team fight. And yes, Ongmaker got in there, but like we said, Empress Divide comes out, no one else gets to join in, and they just play that so clean front to back. And Serpandus, once again, we cannot underestimate how much impact the Darius has. 369 doesn't sound great. Like, that's effectively a 2.0 KDA, which isn't amazing considering some of the other Dariuses we've seen. But the impact he's having, the disruption as well. Apprehend interrupts the Anivia Glacial Storm. If Anivia is running, Anivia is not hurting you. Same with the Fames here. And I was talking about blending meatballs, but that ain't it. Apparently it's chicken wing smoothie.
Chicken wing smoothies, new exclusive KFC bundle deal. Get it today, only $9.99. Anyway. What am I saying?
I pay $9.99 for it, but
hey, it's a good deal, man. It's got a lot of protein, Oh goodness. But I think that team fight was a good thing to watch. But I think crucially, the Zac didn't really manage to lock down the Kai'Sa. So the Kai'Sa just like instantly melted through the Zac. The Hecarim who engaged got melted next, and this just allowed the Kai'Sa to go in. But as you said, we got some fighting going down here. I don't think they're going to be able to lock down the horse for quite long enough. But yeah, crucially, the damage was coming out there. But as you said, Serpandus just went in there. And honestly, at this point, he is just a distraction. He's buying time. He wants to be a menace to Osborne and just not let the carries do anything. Because both Xayah and, as you said, Anivia just kind of want to stand there and output damage. But you can't. Even though the Darius isn't like super strong at this point, he can just stand there and be as annoying. Oh my god! What? There's massive damage going up for Ainlay. That's a crucial pick too. That is the 80 carry. And I really don't think Osborne can take this final fight, but they really don't have a choice. And Ainlay's just breaking it down here. They're looking for the damage. Engage from Unmaker does get on to 3. The Hecarim is in. Bloody is coming out. The Emperor's Divide pulls them away. That is Kai'Sa securing up the kills. And that is Ainlay 2 securing 3rd place in this tournament in dominant fashion, pushing out the game, and a beautiful, beautiful end game by Ainlay 2.
Well, very, very well played to Ainlay. They get a little bit of redemption here against the Osborne 2 team. And it really feels like a huge redemption story. It's the almost complete opposite of what happened in the semifinals here, where they were up early and then down late. This time they were down early. They're the ones with the Darius. They find the big fight around the Elder Drake and they win it. They come back. Congratulations to them. But we also do now have, after this, the best of 3 coming up. The actual grand finals where Osborne 1 gets to face off against McNally, and they get a chance to get their revenge for the Osborne 2 team.
Exactly. And I think that's going to be one hell of an exciting match. But I think we've got to broken down that match very good. So we're going to quickly shoot it to break. Thank you all for tuning in and stay tuned for finals.